Welcome to Ac3TV's Thought Leadership series, part of our executive leadership stream, where we speak with key leaders from across the contact centre industry to get the brain juices flowing, so to speak. I'm Rebecca Wilson, and today I am thrilled to be able to speak with Jane King, who is the Deputy Commissioner of Customer Service and Solutions at the Australian Taxation Office. Jane is also a board member of the ATA and has more than 20 years' experience in management level across all three tiers of government service delivery. Welcome to Ac3TV, Jane.
Thank you, Rebecca.
So to kick off our conversation, I'd like to start with a question that I posed to Jerry O'Shaughnessy in our last interview, and I'd like to know your thoughts. So reflecting on the years that you've been involved in the contact centre industry, what would you say are the top three impacts on the operations of contact centres in Australia?
Yeah, look, I don't think my thoughts are too far from Jerry's. Certainly one of the major shifts, I think, is in status, moving contact centre industry from being seen as cost centres in organisations through to being a real value add to the whole organisation. So I think that's been a great move for contact centres generally. The second thing I think is obviously the technology. It's just shifted so incredibly. I kicked off in good old Telecom Australia, so have been around sort of the high end of technology for quite a long time, but it's just moving so rapidly now. It's incredible, and particularly in the emerging channel space. But I think the third thing that's of real interest to the industry and certainly to government and any large organisation is that convergence of the front office and back office that we're starting to see. So shifting that whole processing end of the business to look and feel like a contact centre, so you get that transparency, management, and of course then the true multi-channel capability right across the whole of the workforce.
Absolutely. So your remit on joining the Taxation Office in 2007 was to transform the contact centres into a multimedia contact centre environment. What has been your biggest challenge in achieving that goal?
Look, the environment obviously is very complex, both from a legislative perspective, technical perspective, all of those sorts of things. But I think this organisation is no different to any other organisation. It's always the culture that gives you the greatest challenges. The tax office has been around for 100 plus years, so we have some fairly deep and steeped traditions and cultures. So it can be a slow journey, but it's certainly one that we're very keen to continue to travel. We have progressed a great deal over the last few years. We're very proud of the sorts of outcomes that we've had, but we've still got a long way to go, but we're very focused. We will get there.
In your opinion, Jane, how should contact centres measure the level of service that they provide?
Look, it has to be based around customer experience. So some people call it customer effort, I guess. In our case, it's about, did our customer or community, client, get what they need to be able to comply or operate within the taxation or superannuation systems easily. So very much our focus is about how we can give easy access, how our information can be translated into English, which is always useful if you're trying to do something with it, but not an easy task given the technical issues within our legislation. But certainly the focus is, can they use it and go away and be self-sufficient and comply?
Jane, you've referred a couple of times to government versus commercial contact centres. What do you think is the difference between government and commercial service delivery in the contact centre space?
Yeah, look, operationally there's not that much difference. I think it's really about the focus. Obviously our main focus isn't around bottom line, for instance, but we are very focused on supporting the community to operate within the context of the environment. So our aim in life is actually to get ourselves out of business, if you will, by ensuring that people are self-sufficient within the framework of government and can operate in a tax system or a super system and know exactly what to do.
Okay.
So it's just a bit of a shift, I think, of emphasis.
Finally, I'd like to talk a bit on a personal level, if that's okay. It's always intriguing to those moving up the leadership ladder how successful women cope with the demands that are placed on us. How do you make it work, and how does that whole work-life balance thing, what does that look like to you?
Yeah, Coping is an interesting word. I'm not sure if I do cope all the time. Look, I think you have to think about it in terms of it is a work-life balance, and work is the word that comes first. If you're going to be an executive, then you will have to make decisions around the priorities for your life.
Yes.
I've certainly looked at it over a long period of time. So when we talk about balance, it's about over a 20-year period, and I've had to make various decisions over a 20-year period as to what my priority has to be at a point in time. So I've actually, I'm a born-again executive, so I've been an executive, I've made a decision to leave because at that point in time I felt, the need to be at home. But I've always been a big believer as, one door shuts, another door opens. So the learning experience of coming back and continuing to go into an executive position has just been invaluable. The things you hear when you're a clerk and you think you know what management said, and suddenly everybody's got a different message, and it was just a real revelation for me, and something that I could then take again on the next run on the executive ladder. So I think it all works out, but I think if you think you can have everything at one time, then you're probably heading the wrong way and heading for a disaster. So you do have to make decisions.
Yeah. Born-again executive. I really like that.
Executive.
Jane, thank you so much for sharing so much with us today. I'm sure our viewers will be able to learn a lot from your reflections and thoughts. Thank you.
Thanks, Rebecca.